Flashback 4.11. Free at last. Free at last. The deputy unlocked the manacles for Katie, Bob, and me. Around us, bloodied cultists were strewn across stone pews up to a dark passage exit beyond the sacrificial altar, where Bracco escaped with the councilwoman's soul, my dagger, and some Baal-crowned book and strip of cloth. The deputy said, "I saw you all pass out in the hotel. It seemed like you were poisoned or something from the food, but I seemed to be unaffected, but I was not sure. I tried to help you, Bob and Katie, to at least fall safely to the ground. I think I was not affected because they drugged the main dishes and I didn't eat my salad, only the French fries, and so by skipping my salad, I think I skipped the knockout drug that they intended for me also." Taylor further explained, "Then I heard voices from the hallway. I dashed to the room door and I peered through its peephole. I saw men outside, at least a few, right outside the door. There were more men out of sight, based on the voices that I could hear. And they had a room key. I heard the door unlock and the latch start moving. They were going to come in. They were coming in. I managed to slash one of the cultists' arms with my blade as they entered the room, but I saw there had to be more than a dozen in the hallway as they opened the door. And they all had rifles and pistols. They were armed. The cultists did not seem to care if anyone in the public saw them in the hotel. They were brandishing their firearms willy-nilly out in the open. The cultists either were above the law or they controlled the law. I realized if I stayed, I would be killed or captured. I could not stand our ground. I didn't know if you were knocked out or even dead. I neither had the time nor the confidence that I could stop that many cultists. I do not believe it was a chance to stop over a dozen. And there was no way that I could carry all of you, much less 3 of you, through the broken, unlockable window. So against my natural intuition and instincts, but was consistent with my training, when confronted with an insurmountable odds, you must withdraw, regroup, and re-engage. I'm so sorry, Richard. I had to get out so that I could come back and rescue you from a more confident position." The deputy continued, "I went straight to Midnight and Associates and explained what had happened. Lesky opened their armory to me and told me where he imagined you might have been taken." She added, "And to my dismay, they offered me no manpower to help in your rescue. It turns out, Richard, Lesky, Sarah, and Tiny are the last of the Knights Templar. There is no one else. Literally, there are 3 people in the Knights Templar: Old Man Lesky, young coordinator Sarah, and overweight Hitler-stashed Tiny. Lesky informed me that we are now honorary members of the Knights Templar. That translates to, we have access to everything the Knights Templar has, Richard. He said we can have all the money, weapons, armor, vehicles, and safe houses and caches all over the world that we can get to and want. And of course, we have access to their vast knowledge and intelligence of past relics and celestial planes and beings and all that crazy stuff he talks about. Importantly, he said he has great detail on the organizations all over the globe for this cult of Baal, more than he gave to us. I know that's a lot to process right now, Richard, but we're basically alone in this fight is what I'm trying to tell you. But we have a huge data bank, a huge armory, and a huge bank account. And we have a few people that we can trust." The deputy concluded, "And so here we are. You were exactly where Lesky thought you would be, and I was armed to detonate the entrance and take those guys out by surprise. And I am glad to report they are 100% routed or eliminated. I lamented. We were stupid. We need to be better prepared and far more vigilant. We almost died. And they have the flaming dagger. They called it the flaming dagger of choice. It was Bracco. He said it's supposed to grant free will or something, even against supernatural, divine, celestial, whatever, magical beings, forces, things. Bob, unnerved by nearly having his soul and life sacrificed to the devil but moments earlier, said, "This is all insane. I don't think there's a way back from here. They drained that woman's life and her soul." He seemingly lost it. How? Bob looked at Katie and uttered, "There is a devil. My God, there is a God. I'm a believer. I'm a newborn believer, Katie. I'm a believer." Katie smiled supportively and warmly, soothing Bob. "Bob, that is great. We just saw the devil at work. God is working through us. I'm sure of it. Richard must be this fulcrum guy. That Bracco said if the dagger lights up, he is the fulcrum. Well, it lights up for Richard, so he is the fulcrum. Whatever the fulcrum really is, seems like we keep learning new things." The deputy looked towards Katie and Bob, and then to me, and said, "I have believed in God, but more an agnostic. I have not practiced any faith or religion. But this Athlone experience has reinforced to me, yeah, there is a God. And now, given all that we have seen, I am convinced there must be a devil too. And there is either magic or celestial divine forces in objects, like in your dagger, or something. And now, Katie, bitten by the roses of ambivalence that leave rose tattoo scars. The Knights Templar, they operate in a castle museum basement. The flaming dagger of choice, divine relics exist and are real. The devil cult of Baal, worshippers of Baal or Baalism. Bollocks, I think. The prince of hell, Baal, aka Lucifer, Satan, the devil. The crown of Baal, something that drains life and souls from people. The tome of Baal, something that Bracco used for incantations to draw celestial powers from Baal to drain the soul or something. And his strip of Baal, some cloth that holds souls and life energy. And yet still the tapestry of Baal, something that shears the plains between hell, heaven, and mortal planes. Too much Baal, Baal this, Baal that. We need to send this Baal back whence he came. It all somehow makes some twisted sense to me now, though. Like Katie and Bob, Richard, I am a believer now. If I was not a believer before, I am now. I said, at this rate, we will be dead in a week or two. We need to get to Midnight and Associates. We need to ask them to offer more insight and help. And I think we need to be very more careful, very much more careful. I think we need to consider that we are at war with the cult and they're at war with us. And they have a lot of magic at their disposal. Bracco mentioned something about a high priest Nicodemus at a Church of Midnight. Let's ask Lesky about this Nicodemus and what he knows about the Midnight Church. Flashback 4.12 Psych Assessment Pub, Curio, and Bracco. Dr. Hyder's iPad window flashed. More incredible adventure, Richard! Your detail is extraordinary. Athlone sounds like an old Victorian or Transylvanian setting. I expected you to still encounter vampires or werewolves. The resolution, the detail in your narrative, it just makes it come to life. It is interesting how little involvement your team, though, had. Like they were not important to your story at all in the least. I mean, did you give them airtime proportionate to their importance to your story at the time? You and your team proved quite the soldiers and thieves, though. I mean, it seemed to contradict your ideology of being righteous and good, though. You confessed to breaking and entering and stealing into a public restaurant and bar. You confessed to being accessory to murder of 2 people. You confessed further to accessory to murdering dozens of people, at least a dozen or more. Your murder admissions do support intentional and willful murdering of other people, perhaps supportive of your murder of that man in Santa Barbara may have been intentional, willful. The reason that you're even here with us right now, confined to this facility. It's also very notable, Richard. Divine relics with magical powers? Pretty unbelievable. It seems convenient that your flaming dagger of choice was stolen, thereby removing any proof that it ever existed, or that your magical powers as the fulcrum could be shown as well. No dagger, no proof of you or the dagger. Souls and life forces drained and transferred into ruined cloths to feed a tapestry that will shear and rip tears between heaven, hell, and us, mere mortals. It is all extremely unbelievable. I would love to have photos or some proof of any of these magical relics that drain souls or even the slain cultists. I would love to see even one of the documents that you stole during your adventures. Identifying as the fulcrum, the key actor in a divine conflict between heaven and hell. You know, Richard, this is a textbook's delusions of grandeur in a chronic psychotic schism, or very extreme schizophrenic break, possibly magnified by bipolar disorder, or your neurodegeneration. Your savior, Deputy Taylor, seems to represent the protector that you wish to be your entire life. You even recognize how much you needed Deputy Taylor repeatedly. Katie and Bob seem to be foils and story explainers to make sure that you are justified in your actions and to explain highlights or details that you wanted to share but would want to make a little less sense if it just came from you, so you needed a group to share it from. And as a storyteller and a fiction writer, Katie and Bob are excellent supporting characters. I thought every day, every session, it was the same. I share intimate details of my life, and the psychiatrists collectively or individually declare I am telling fantasies as if they were real. And then they provide relentless judgment and possible or probable diagnoses. I was in their reality. It was awful. It was wrong. It was my true reality. I was captive. I was their prisoner. Caselli looked at me and asked, "Richard, let's keep this moving. Please resume your story."